Back to the podcast. This is a Real Talk Sports with Rico. Today, I will be your host. It is so good to be back here, guys, after our 2 week hiatus. We are back. We're talking about the NFC East and the preview for this season. I'll be talking about each team in the NFC East. We'll be talking about who should win that division, and we'll be talking about that pretty much each week moving forward as the NFL season moves closer. The goal here is to actually go through each division. We'll be talking about that, highlighting that. I've got some clips via Madden 2023. Make sure you go out there and get Madden 2024, which is getting ready to drop here, I believe, on the 18th of August. So I'll actually be using that clip or clips from that gameplay. And we also will be talking about the Anthony Davis extension and what that means for the Lakers. So before we actually jump into the content, I first and foremost want to thank Anchor for being our platform, which is now Spotify Podcast. Want to thank the fans out there who have chimed in on a week-to-week basis to listen to the show. And I also want to thank the sponsors out there who will put sponsorship on the show. And just to let you guys know, that you can actually follow this show on the links below. We'll actually put those in the links. You can actually catch us at YouTube as well, where that is going to be under Real Talk Sports with Rico. Generally, we do have a show every Sunday, or it may pop up there on Mondays sometimes, but we are pretty consistent here with the content, and you guys should be checking out our show on the reg. So let's go ahead and jump into the content, guys. And let's start off with football. And let's start off with, I think, one of the best divisions in football when it is completely competitive, and it is starting to get back to that. That's the NFC East. I think that the NFC East is certainly going to be pretty competitive this year. I'm going to go ahead and throw up some Madden 2023 clip here where we're actually going to be showing the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Dallas Cowboys, which I think these two teams might actually be into the NFC East running for the top, or they could be in the championship game for the NFC East. But I'm going to go and throw that up in the background. And yeah, let's start to talk about it here. And let's start off with the Philadelphia Eagles. I think that the Philadelphia Eagles, they have gone out and they have gotten even better this year. I love what they have done in the draft by going out and getting a defense here. I know that they did lose Hargrave over to the San Francisco 49ers, but the Eagles are pretty much intact. And I love the fact that they went out and they got DeAndre Swift. I think DeAndre Swift, when he's right, I think he could be one of the best backs in the league. And I think he's going to be in a situation where he's going to be utilized in a dynamic way with Jalen Hurts. I feel like Jalen Hurts is probably the most dangerous quarterback in the league, aside from Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow. I think that you can honestly say that Jalen Hurts is probably a top 3 quarterback. Let's go ahead and I'm going to throw up some roster stats here as well. So looking at Jalen Hurts, he has A.J. Brown to throw to over here and Devontae Smith, former Heisman, winner and all wide receiver winner in college, and he's gotten even better. They've got Watkins on this roster as well. And I love what they have at the tight end position too. I love with Dallas Goedert. I think that this guy is a guy that has been slept on. I think that this is a guy that he certainly provides an added safety blanket for Jalen Hurts in that run pass option. And I just feel like with the Eagles, the rich have gotten richer, to be honest with you. If I could just label that with the Eagles, the rich have gotten richer. Defensively, they've gotten better. They still have one of their main focal points with Fletcher Cox on there. I talked about Hargrove going over to the now 49ers, which I don't think that that's going to be a big difference with the way that they drafted. Moving forward, looking at the New York Giants. The New York Giants, it's interesting to me with the New York Giants because the story about the New York Giants has been Saquon Barkley. And I know that they went out and they gave Daniel Jones a lot, and I mean a lot of money. Now, with what they drafted at the wide receiver position, okay. But I don't care who you draft at the wide receiver position. The bottom line is Daniel Jones and the offense of the New York Giants goes as Saquon Barkley goes. There is a huge drop off when Saquon Barkley is not on the field. When Saquon Barkley is on the field and he is right, like he was last year, you saw probably one of the most dynamic players in all of football. And he shows you exactly why he was highly sought after coming out of Penn State. And I love the fact that he was able to get a deal done. I feel like it still undervalues everything that Saquon Barkley does. Trust me on this. If Saquon Barkley did not report and they didn't sign Saquon Barkley and they were starting the season without Saquon Barkley, you would see a Giants team that would for sure struggle. So the fact that they got him in-house, it keeps the Giants relevant, excuse me. And it's possible that New York could possibly get up there and they might actually win the division. Okay, this is a football team that made the playoffs last year along with Dallas. I don't see why they can't make that step again. It looks like they put the drama behind them with the contract holdout and getting Saquon there. Now it's all about you've shown Daniel Jones the bag. Can Daniel Jones deliver now? Okay, because coming out of Duke, I really wasn't sold on him. He's going into year 4. I mean, obviously, he made big leaps and jumps and bounds and all that great stuff moving into this season, but it was a season where he was going for the bag. Now I've got to see something. You've got the money in hand. What are you going to do? From the wide receiver standpoint, this I think is one of the toughest positions that the Giants have on the football team. They've struggled. Like Sterling Shepard has struggled. Darius Slayton has struggled. Isaiah Hodges had some good moments last year as a rookie. But yeah, I'm curious to see with the rookie wide receiver that they have now. I believe it's Zay Jones over there. What are they going to do? Okay, because they have got to figure something out from the passing game as well. Because Saquon Barkley, he is going to command respect from defenses and their front seven and could cause people to load up in the box. But it's not going to make a difference if Daniel Jones cannot beat people over the top. This is the key to the Giants. The Giants have got to beat people in the passing game if they're going to have a chance to win the NFC East or perhaps advance further into the playoffs. Next up, you're looking at Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott for the Dallas Cowboys is always the story for the Dallas Cowboys. Dak, he's obviously got the bag after coming back from a horrific ankle injury. And he showed that he for sure still has it. He still had some footing. I was wondering about Dak Prescott and the offense and where they were going to go. They shipped off Amari Cooper. They put a lot of responsibility on CeeDee Lamb. And I think that CeeDee Lamb found out what it's like to be a top wide receiver in the NFL. And I'm curious to see what is CeeDee Lamb going to do this year. I think that a lot of this is going to fall on CeeDee Lamb. I think Jerry Jones, when you look back at the comments and what he was saying, he was pretty critical of CeeDee Lamb before he went on a pretty good run there towards the end of the season. And I mean, Dallas kind of flatlined for a little bit, but then they picked it up. They got in there. Not a lot of people were thinking that they were going to beat Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, but hey, they knocked them off and they won a playoff game. I thought it was going to be an upset, but they took care of business. Tony Pollard, great running back. You knew that Tony Pollard eventually was going to take over. Obviously, if you're looking at the screen now, you see Ezekiel Elliott there. I told you that this is 2023 Madden. So Ezekiel Elliott was on the roster, but Tony Pollard was the starter essentially. And so now it's Tony Pollard's backfield. I believe they franchise tagged him here. And Tony Pollard is expected to make a lot of plays for Dallas. He's going to be in the passing game. He's going to also be a big focal point in the running game. I'm not sure if they still have Mike Davis on this roster, but Tony Pollard is the guy, and he's going to get multiple carries and multiple touches here, and he's going to have to perform at a high level. Ezekiel Elliott is not there. if that offense bogs down, I think sometimes Dallas gets a little pass happy. They're going to need Tony Pollard. And so coming off his ankle injury or leg injury, which was pretty horrific in the playoffs against San Francisco, I'm not sure what he tore or broke. I think it was the fibula, the fibula bone that he broke in his leg, but it was pretty horrific. But they're saying that he'll be back, and I'm hoping that he's able to be back and performing at a high level. Talking about this with CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, they had T.Y. Hilton coming over from the Colts last year. This wide receiver core is going to have to step up. Noah Brown. There is no Amari Cooper. There's no more Des Bryant here. This is solely going to fall on CeeDee Lamb, and CeeDee Lamb has got to be a better number one. He's got to find a way to win a lot more in coverages. I know he was a little bit more of a big play guy, but he's got to be an everything guy. And when I say that, he's got to be able to convert on the short intermediate stuff. He's got to be able to get down the field for the deep stuff. I mean, he's going to have to pretty much run everything on the route tree. And I think that if Dallas is going to go anywhere, I'm thinking that Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb have to be a lot like what Kelsey and Mahomes are, a lot like what you saw with Brady and Evans or Hurts and A.J. Brown. Like, they have got to become a dynamic duo from a wide receiver quarterback situation in order for the Cowboys to advance. I think that that's the only way that they advance. And really, the last time Dallas was relevant and winning Super Bowls, they had a clear number one quarterback and a number one wide receiver, that being Troy Aikman, the Hall of Famer, and Mike Irvin, the Hall of Famer. The Cowboys have struggled to find either of that. Dalton Schultz, another critical guy to this passing game. I'm throwing him up there. He was franchise tagged. He seems to be a huge safety blanket for Dak. He has got to play well, but I'm hoping that they eventually show him the bag. Had a little bit of a down season last year, came on late. Hopefully he's able to make plays for Dak this year. Micah Parsons, arguably, I think one of the best defensive players in all the league. He might be the best. He had an incredible season, and he's just incredible. I mean, he does remind you a lot of what Lawrence Taylor was when he played in the NFL. This guy, I saw him last year force a fumble and knock the guy down or tackle him, pick it up, and ran it back for a score. And I think that might have been week 1 or week 2. It was one of the most spectacular plays that I've seen. But Michael Parsons is going to be terrific. That defense should be stout again. You have Diggs manning it in the back end, Trayvon Diggs here. They have signed, I believe, Malik Hooker, the safety, for another year or 2, actually 3-year extension. So Dallas is all set defensively. The question with them, again, is going to be, what are they going to give you from an offensive standpoint, and is it going to be consistent enough? Next up, you have the Washington Commanders. Okay, so I have to give Washington some credit, and being a fan, they actually did the first thing, which was important, and I think getting rid of ownership. I've always said that a winning franchise starts from the top and trickles down to the bottom. So kudos to that. I'm curious to see how the new ownership plays out for Washington. Magic Johnson is a part of that. Magic Johnson is extremely competitive, and pretty much anything that Magic Johnson touches, it turns into gold. Okay, so I'm hoping that happens for the Washington Commanders. The biggest question mark for the Washington Commanders has to be Sam Howell. Now, Sam Howell, I wasn't really excited about him coming out of North Carolina. I'm not sure really what he projects. When I look at some of his game tape, he reminds me a little bit of a Baker Mayfield, has a little bit of a Kirk Cousins, moxie about him. And he's going to be tested, okay, because he's the starter. Washington elected not to go out and get a quarterback. They could have went out and tried to get a veteran like Garoppolo. They didn't end up doing that. And they didn't end up going out and getting any of the main quarterbacks that came out. Like, they didn't go out and get C.J. Stroud. they didn't go out and get any of the quarterbacks that were top this year, right? Will Levis, they could have got him. And, maybe they could have put together a package and got Bryce Young. But Washington says that Sam Howell is the guy. I'm not sure about it. I didn't see a lot last year. But then again, Washington was trying to figure it out. And the one thing that I will say about the Commanders that they also did was they brought in Eric Bieniemy, who is been the offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs. He should be a head coach. But if he can win with this, I feel like he for sure has to be a head coach. And he's coming in, and he's going to design a system that is going to open it up. So we are going to find out how much arm strength Sam Howell has. We're going to see how creative he is when the line breaks down. And we're going to see if he can throw some people open. I don't know if I necessarily saw that in his game tape, but we're going to find out about that. I'm really excited for them. I'm really excited for the man that you see up on the screen here, Brian Robinson Jr. He got a season kind of cut into last year, an unfortunate incident, but he is back and he ran extremely hard. He came on at the end of the year, and this is a guy that reminds me a little bit of what Derrick Henry does. The way he powers, the way he finishes runs. Washington could legitimately have found a real fourth quarterback that can really salt away games. Now, that could really help Sam Howell, okay? Because if Sam Howell's not able to necessarily put up the points in a Patrick Mahomes facet, you're going to probably need to grind the football out. And Brian Robinson is definitely a candidate for that. I believe they still have Antonio Gibson on the roster, which pretty much can do just about everything. And JD McKissick, is on the roster as well. So the stable of backs look good for Washington. They look really, really good. And I feel like there's definitely a system for them. And I think that this is terrific for Eric Bieniemy because he really didn't use too much of a main back. He did have Isaiah Pacheco last year. He's splitting time with Jarrett McKinnon. And, they had Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So Washington has a bit of that flair in the backfield that I think Eric Bieniemy can certainly win with. So I think that that's going to be a plus for Washington this year is the running back situation. And then the wide receiver core. I would say out of all the NFC East, aside from the Eagles, Washington probably has the most solid wide receiver room. They have Scary Terry McLaurin. You have Curtis Samuel, when healthy, can fly. And you have Jahan Dotson, who had an outstanding rookie year and lived up to a lot of the hype where his hands were strong. He didn't drop a lot of footballs. And had it been not for a hamstring injury that he got in week 3, I believe, against Dallas, he perhaps could have been in the running, I think, for rookie of the year. He I think, is going to have an outstanding year. It wouldn't surprise me if Jahan Dotson even moves up to wide receiver 2. The question mark for the Commanders is going to be Dyami Brown. Now, Dyami Brown had a not so stellar first year. And I believe that Dyami is still on the roster and still in good standings here because of Sam Howell. Him and Sam Howell played together in college. I'm thinking that Bieniemy believes that Sam Howell can get Dyami Brown to kind of open up defenses. And I'm talking about the kind of speed that Tyreek Hill has. So this is going to be critical for the Commanders. Do they get this question mark receiver to play at an elite level? A guy that can absolutely fly, can lift the lid off the defense. He is already familiar with Sam Howell. Is this Washington's Tyreek Hill? Okay, that's a real question mark for me. If he is that guy, then you're looking at a lethal offense. That means that Sam Howell is operating at an optimal level. That also means that you have Dyami Brown taking the lids off the defenses. That means that you have Terry McLaurin and you have Curtis Samuels running all kinds of intermediate routes and winning there against linebackers, corners. And then when you're going into zone coverage, they're getting into spaces and winning there. Jahan Dotson can beat you over the top. Great hands, terrific on a third down situation. So then you have Antonio Gibson running routes on you out of the backfield. So Washington has all the makings offensively. Defensively, you know what they can do. There's been a lot of talk about Chase Young, and is Chase Young going to be traded? Is he this? Is he that? I think Chase Young's going to come back. It's going to be a strong year. If the offense is playing well, a lot of pressure is going to be taken off of him. And I think that you're looking at a guy that is going to thrive. Washington's front four might be one of the best in the division, if not the best. The problem is that Washington's defense spent so much time on the field last year because the offense couldn't move the football. They got worn down. They were tired, and they were hurt. They were hurt, man. They were hurt. So, with that being said, man, I think that if I could predict this division, I think you're looking at the NFC East being won by the Eagles. Like, I like the Eagles. I think that the Eagles are going to run the table. I think that Jalen Hurts has taken another step forward. You listen to Coach Sirianno talking about him, and it sounds like he's gotten better with his reads. It sounds like his arm has gotten better with the reads. And I think he's gotten more comfortable. I think that Jalen Hurts has finally I want to say he's coming to his own, man. Like he's a guy that when you listen to him, he's very, very confident. But what I love about him is that he didn't hang his head in Alabama when Tua took his job. And he went on, he still played, and then he transferred, and he was magnificent there. Draft day when the Eagles took him, and they still had Carson Wentz, and it was a question of like, okay, is this guy the guy? And now people are looking like, of course he's the guy. Like he's the best dual threat quarterback in the league. Like there is no other quarterback in the league that can do what he does on the RPO. And the fact that they brought AJ Brown over opened it up for Devontae Smith. And then now I think in a lot of ways, the Eagles in bringing over DeAndre Swift, they probably have one of the best running backs that they've had on their team. Okay. Because Darren Sproles, he was a terrific player for the Eagles when he played there. I know Legarius Blunt was terrific, but the Eagles really haven't had too many number ones since Brian Westbrook left. Okay. And Swift can be that guy. He just has to stay healthy. And I think that Jalen Hurts is going to open it up for him. You're just looking at a touchdown on the screen with him hitting Devontae Smith out of the RPO. I mean, they're just going to be dangerous. They're going to be able to go up and down the field on you. And defensively, I think they're going to be able to run a little bit more of a fast break offense on teams because they're going to be able to sub in and sub out so much. So I like the Eagles to win this division. Dallas, they have they're right there. Dallas is a close second. I mean, I have to give Dallas a lot of credit. They were able to put it together last year. They were able to win the playoff game against the GOAT. And I just think that now the expectation for them is to move forward. Every time there's been expectations put on Dallas, they've fallen short. That's the only thing. And the reason why I haven't picked them. And they're really just one injury away, especially from Dak Prescott. If Dak Prescott goes down, it's over for Dallas. If CeeDee Lamb were to go down, it's over. And also, too, if any of those linemen go down, I think it's going to be tough for Dallas because they've really hung their hat on playing good offense and being able to play a lot more smash mouth football. So if any of those positions really go down, I think it's going to hurt them. I think that Dallas is going to be right there in the thick of things. I would expect them to get a playoff berth. The Giants, I got them making the playoffs. I think that they're going to be neck and neck with Dallas here. I've told you I think that it's key that they brought Saquon Barkley back. I just don't believe in Daniel Jones yet. I know he had a great year last year, but I'm not sure if Daniel Jones is going to beat people consistently over the top. Now, I know you can argue that he hasn't had anybody to throw the football to, and no disrespect there, but let's be honest. the Giants really haven't had a legit number one since Odell Beckham left, or Victor Cruz, or any of those guys like that, or Plexico Burris. This is the first year that they might actually have a legit number one. Now, can the Rook come to the veteran level that they're going to need in order to win? That's a question mark. And will Daniel Jones stay consistent? Behind Jalen Hurts, I would say that Daniel Jones is a huge, huge factor in the dual threat game. He will need to use his legs, but he's also going to have to beat you with the arms. If he doesn't do that, the Giants are in trouble. With Washington, there's a lot of stuff on paper that makes you say, okay. There's a lot of stuff internal that they're doing that's saying, okay, we're changing culture here. Now, whenever you change culture, you got this thing called the energy. Okay. And energy is something that you can't measure it, but it's real. Okay. And energy in an organization, when you change it, it can be big. Now, I don't know if this is going to be enough. And I think that the real question mark is going to be what is happening with Sam Howell. I think this football team is going to go as far as Sam Howell. I don't care how good Eric Bieniemy is. I don't care how great of a defensive coordinator Coach Rivera is. If Washington can't move the football and they have yet to find a franchise quarterback, keep that in mind, guys. The franchise quarterback that they did have and should have, Kirk Cousins, they did not want to pay him and they let him go to the Vikings. The franchise quarterback that they did have that looked very good and was rookie of the year, that was RG3, Robert Griffin III, got hurt and never was the same again. Okay. Washington historically has struggled at getting franchise quarterbacks there. In fact, they haven't drafted well. Sam Howell is a guy that they drafted. Will Sam Howell be the franchise quarterback that Washington needs? I believe if you look it up, Washington has started maybe they might have started the most quarterbacks in the last 10 years or so. I don't have the statistic, but I'm pretty sure that they probably have. The quarterback is going to be critical for them. Defensively, they're going to be rock solid. The running back room is rock solid. The wide receiver core, I told you, might be one of the best in the NFC East. It falls on the quarterback play of Sam Howell. Right now, I have them finishing last in this division. That obviously could change, but we will see moving forward, as that is the NFC East 2023-24 preview, as I have the Eagles winning this. Next, we will take a look at the NFC South on next week's show. Moving forward, let us move over to the AD extension, right? Anthony Davis got the bag, and I'm talking about my man got the bag. And with that, I'm actually throwing up some footage here of NBA 2K23. You're looking at a scrimmage between OKC, who I think is going to be one of the best teams in the West, up and coming. They were in the play-in game last year. I think that they're going to win the play-in this year if they're in that situation. They're getting Chad Holmgren back. But right there off the rip, you see a rebound from Anthony Davis and a pass ahead. And you're seeing why exactly they're giving him the bag. Look at that. Here's a guy that he can score inside just like that. If you look at the clip, and you're looking at a guy that can rebound on both ends, and he has a jump shot. And when he wants to, he can defend at a high level. Let's be honest. Anthony Davis, when he's right, he's certainly one of the top 10 players in the NBA. So let's look at the positive for the Lakers. You've locked up a guy that ensures you that if you do somehow lose LeBron, which is possible, either to retirement or he could make a situation where he wants to play with his son. I'm not sure how it's going to work out, but if he leaves, the franchise is in still some good shape. Anthony Davis is still young enough. You're hoping that the health is there. They have a great team around them with Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell. They've got Vanderbilt over there. They've got Jackson Hayes. They've got Taurean Prince. They've got Hachimura. Like, they have a lot of good pieces over there. Okay? So with that being said, man, I like the fact that they have Anthony Davis for that reason. Now, on the flip side of this thing, where it could be a bad situation is if Anthony Davis is unable to finish games. If he is unable to perform on a consistent level, this could really hurt them because one, his trade value is going to go down. And two, if he gets injured in the way that Anthony Davis has been injured and it turns into something major, then the Lakers are looking at a situation where they've they've wasted a lot of money. It's tied up in there. You know that nobody's going to go ahead and trade for that. And I've said I thought that maybe they probably should have moved on and gotten something back for Anthony Davis. I will give it to the Lakers in the sense that they have made a lot of moves with Rob Pelinka, and they've actually gotten back some young pieces. They've gotten back some draft capital. And I was just talking to a friend here in the gym earlier, man, and it looks like the Lakers. I wanted to say initially the Pelicans won this trade, right, with the Zion Williams Anthony Davis deal. Now, when you look at it, it looks to be a little bit more even, okay, because Anthony Davis did help LeBron James bring a ring, which was questionable, but you got to give it to him because I'm not sure if the Lakers would have been able to hold on had that been a full 82 game season with no break. I don't know if Anthony Davis would have finished the season based off what I see strategically with him. But they won the championship. They were able to get some cap space back. They're able to get some young pieces back. So it's working out for them. They did make it to the conference finals, right? So that's a plus last year. So they were in the West Finals. They've been in the championship and won that. So the Lakers are highly competitive. The Pelicans, Zion Williams has been supremely hurt. They can't keep him on the floor. They did get Alvarado out of this. You've gotten Herb Jones out of this. You know, they've gotten some really good picks. They got Brandon Ingram over there. They've gotten some flexibility. They've gotten CJ McCollum over there. So the Pelicans are winning in the sense that they were able to restock their team and be competitive more quickly than the Lakers. But now it could be a wash, especially if Zion Williams is not able to play at the Zion Williams level that David Griffin needs him to play at. And so if he's not able to play at a high level and the Pelicans end up giving up on him, I believe that you're looking at a situation where the Lakers may have won that trade. They may have won that trade. Now, we'll see. I mean, the fact remains, I'm hoping the best for both players, but right now I'm slightly with the Lakers with what they're doing here. So I see where Rob Pelinka was going. I totally agree with the extension in the sense that you had to do something. You don't want him to walk away for free. And let's be honest. I mean, Anthony Davis has the same agent as LeBron James, Rich Paul. So if LeBron's still on the roster, you knew that the deal had to be done and you knew it was going to get done. So am I surprised about this? No. I mean, am I surprised that he made this amount of money and it's one of the highest extensions in NBA history with the 186 million max extension? A little bit, you know, based off what he's done, injuries and stuff like that. But hey, when he was on the floor last year, career high. When he's off the floor, it was terrible. And then when he's inconsistent, it's terrible too. So you're hoping that you get more upside from Anthony Davis, but not even mad at my man for going out there and getting the bag. And so with that being said, guys, that really is today's show. So I want to go ahead and thank Anchor for being the platform and allowing us to have a podcast here. You can check us out on Spotify podcasts. That's under Real Talk Sports with Rico. You can also check us out on YouTube. You can check us out on YouTube where we are under Real Talk Sports with Rico. Make sure you press the like and subscribe button. The links to the show is going to be in the show notes. Want to thank the fans out there who have chimed in on a week-to-week basis here to help us drive content. And want to thank the sponsors out there who have put sponsorship on the show. And for myself, Rico, this is Real Talk Sports. We're out of here, guys. And I am saying peace, peace, peace. I love you guys. I'll see you on the next week's show. We'll be talking more about the NFL and talking about more about the NBA season as it approaches, guys.